morning, folks. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome to the Lenten Inspiration Space on this Monday of the Holy Week. Folks, we are coming closer to the cross, you realize. But more than the cross, we are moving forward closer to the victorious light of the resurrection. And each one of us have got our resurrection experience to have. But we cannot fully have that resurrection experience unless we bring in our scared child. This morning I want to reflect on the subject that I have entitled Bringing in Your Scared Child. You know, no matter who you are, you could be the Pope, you could be the president, you could be the prime minister, you could be whatever you want to think about that is as powerful as we can imagine here on earth. Each one of us have got their scared child. So when we were growing up, firstly, in my family, we are a family of 7. I'm number 5 in my family. I've got 3 elder brothers. One of my elder brothers was a very naughty child growing up. No names mentioned. I don't want to get in trouble here. So when he was a teenager, he started experimenting with smoking and drinking and living a wayward life. And man, you don't do that with my father. You don't do that, not with the kind of parents that we had. He was then called home, and he was thoroughly beaten up by my father. He was like, it was a very, very scary thing to experience, and I was still very young. But I still remember that vividly in my mind. That happened in the very late afternoon, going into the evening, and he was thoroughly beaten, and we were scared. Mama was scared, and Daddy was not going to take it. Ultimately, he ran out of the house and he ran away and hid somewhere in the farm, because we were growing up in a farm. He hid somewhere in the farm, and the sun set, and he was out there in the darkness, and we obviously then were inside the house with the parents, and Daddy was still angry, but Mama was so worried. We were in the house, but Mama was still worried. We were scared and worried as younger siblings, because our elder brother is out there. He is a runaway child, scared in the darkness. We were in the light, and yet we were not happy. Mama was in the house with us, in the warmth and the light of the house, and yet she was scared, and we were scared. Why? Because a scared child was out there in the darkness. Bringing in your scared child. Every one of us have got a scared child that is sitting somewhere in the darkness of our life. We all have this child, the part of us that is vulnerable, that is scared, that is fearful and anxious, a part of us that never really felt completely received and welcome, a part of us that is weak and is rather humbling, because it is not a very good part of us. It is not a very strong part of us. I'm talking about a place in us that lives in the shadows of our consciousness, that we would very much like to shy away from, that we would like very much to avoid, because it is embarrassing, it is humbling, it is not good. We are not very proud of this part. It is the part in us that weighs you down and wears you out. In the meantime, whilst you have that weak, shady, feared, anxious part in you that you would rather not let the people know, there is a part in us that is what I call the light side of us. The light side that is strong and beautiful. A side you are proud to show off. A side that you highlight when you are busy with your personal brand promotion. A side of you that you splash in the social media and you want us to know and to see and to like and to love. A side of you that you really want people to know. But the irony is, whilst you are busy with your strong and proud side that you want us to see, whilst you are busy with the PR exercise on social media, when you finish showing up your shiny side, you still come back home to face that weak, dark, shadowy side of you, the side of you that is vulnerable. You still have to reckon with the part in you that is in the shadows of your life. The child in you that you have pushed to the darkness and is sitting out there scared and you do not want to see or people to see. The part of you that you want to deny, that you wish you never had. And no matter how great your performance in the public eye is, no matter how shiny and powerful your gifts are, no matter how competent, efficient, and productive you can be in your day job, your fearful, weak, vulnerable, and shadowy secret side of you still comes up to face you. It can come up in your dreams, it comes up in your visions, it comes up in your private talks, it comes up in your private conversation. And when that side shows up, it wears you down, it weighs you down, it slows you down, it usurps the power out of you, it taps the power of your gifts and brings you down and breaks you down. The shadow part of you, because you are pushing it out, you are keeping it out of the light. You do not want to reconcile with it. You do not want to acknowledge it and embrace it as part of your history and who you are. And whilst you are doing that, that child out there is still deep down in you screaming for help. No matter how much you work to keep that scared and vulnerable child in the darkness, like my mother, you will always remain unhappy because you know that your family is not whole. You are not integrated. You are not whole. You are not complete, because that part of you that you are pushing away is still part of who you are. Your light side cannot be fully bright, cannot fully shine. It is dimmed by the knowledge that there is a part of you that is still out there and is still not fully integrated in your life. You have a part of you that is out there and it is tapping your power. It is like your thorn in the flesh. Saint Paul was a gifted apostle of Jesus Christ. He was a gifted man. He was articulate. He was well read. He was educated. He was gifted spiritually. He was an intellectual. He was a prolific writer. We owe a majority of our books of the New Testament to Paul. Paul was a gifted intellectual, a gifted spiritual man, and he was a writer, and he was in a category of him with himself, all by himself. And yet Paul had the dark, shadowy, weak, vulnerable, scared side in him, and he calls it the thorn in the flesh. In the second book of Corinthians chapter 12, in verse 7, Paul says, even though I have received such wonderful revelations from God, so to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me and keep me from becoming proud. This prolific writer, this high tower intellectual, this gifted spiritual man had a thorn in the flesh, and he prayed to God, and he wanted to avoid that part. He wished that part away. He prayed that part away and asked God for God to take it away, and God replied to every single of his petition and said, my grace is sufficient for you, because my power works well in your weakness. In this passage, Paul was asking for God to really take away this weak, dark, vulnerable side, and God kept on saying, I am not going to allow you to push this child in the darkness of your consciousness. I don't want you to run away from part of who you are. I want you to integrate your weaknesses and your strength together. I want you to embrace your vulnerabilities and your fears and your anxieties. I want you to stand in the place of your weakness and know that I turn your weakness into strength, because my power can only work itself when you are weak. You see, my friend, you will never be fully happy and fully integrated. Your power will always be tapped, and the ceiling of your power and gifts will always be reduced to a lower level, because you are refusing to integrate your weak part, your fearful part, your scared child into the light of your life. Society has messed us up because it has taught us to play PR exercise with ourselves, with our lives. It has taught us to highlight the strong parts, the light part, and the shiny, beautiful parts of our lives at the expense of our weak, shadowy, vulnerable, scared, downside part. And when we do that, we are denying ourselves of fully living. Because when we do that, we can only exist. We are coping, and we become actors in our own lives. Because when you are running away from your shadowy side, you are playing an actor in your life. You are pretending, you are hiding away an important part of your life. And this morning, this Lenten teaching says to you, embrace your light side, embrace your dark side, embrace your brilliant side, embrace your shadowy side, embrace all the parts of your life, integrate and weave them together, so that once you have done that, your power then through the grace of God will manifest. Finally, my brother, was welcomed back into the house. And he grew up to be a leader. He grew up to be a mentor. He grew up to be a pastor. He grew up to mend and bring together the lives of others, because when you integrate all your parts, you become a wounded healer. You become an inspiration to others. You become whole in your life, and you become powerful, because God uses the weakest things of this world to show his glorious power. Do not run away from your weak self. Bring in your scared child. Embrace your vulnerable side and see the grace of God show its power and glory, its magnitude and its brilliance through the weaknesses of your life. Bring in your scared child. Amen.